Time for some PFT props on this Friday morning, and we remind you before we get started that Doug Pederson, the Eagles head coach, in Arizona, when everybody's supposed to be kind of relaxed and chill, Pederson decided in a very professional, above-board way to call out his quarterback for not being a better teammate. Said Pederson of Carson Wentz, I think being a better teammate, sometimes just being a little more vulnerable, being a little more accessible. You're obviously committed to your craft and developing your skill, but it's like you want to walk across the aisle and talk to the other side. That's all part of the maturation process and the growth process. It's something you learn through time. Carson's got that in him. And he wants Carson Wentz to become a leader for the whole team, a quarterback who will take over the locker room, a quarterback who will have his players behind him all the time. And we talked about this earlier, Big Cat. One of the ways you inspire your teammates is show that you can make good decisions, be available to play all games, because that's how they had the shrine to Nick Foles last year. It's because Carson Wentz wasn't playing. Nick Foles came in and played well. The players rally around the guy who's playing. So job number one for Wentz, be available to play.
Well, and job number one for Wentz, you bring up Nick Foles. I think that was part of it. Nick Foles, by all accounts, is a fantastic teammate, a fantastic leader, and a guy who is beloved in that locker room. It's got to be awkward when your franchise quarterback is not the guy that everyone likes, and it's actually just the backup. So I think Nick Foles kind of leaving the addition by subtraction theory here, that Carson Wentz will have maybe a little bit better grasp on the team, maybe not as insecure. Not saying he was insecure. I'm obviously just guessing on this, but if the guy behind you is more liked by all your peers, it probably would lead to some insecurities and probably make it so that you're not the best teammate. So I think just by Nick Foles going down to Jacksonville, Carson Wentz will already be a better teammate next year.
That leads into our PFT props this morning, and we're going to begin with quarterbacks available to play. Who has the better chance to play 16 games this season, Carson Wentz or 49ers quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo?
I'm saying Carson Wentz because I don't know. Is Jimmy Garoppolo going to start the season? I don't know about that. The ACL tears have now become this thing. Adrian Pederson ruined it for the rest of the NFL. When he came back in 9 months and everyone talked about how his knee was unbelievable, everyone just assumes that. You see it with every guy. Donovan McNabb, when he tore his ACL, it took a little time. Tom Brady, he was a little rusty when he came back. Like, it takes a little time. Not being healthy and being good again are two different things. So I think the 49ers will make sure that he's ready to go fully. I don't think he's going to start the season. And I think Carson Wentz is going to play all 16 games. There's my hot take of the day.
Yeah, and look, with Jimmy Garoppolo, I agree with you. We never know how long they're going to put a guy on ice, and Adrian Pederson did ruin it to a certain extent. We do have this expectation now that guys are going to be back, and sometimes they aren't, sometimes they aren't. And even if Garoppolo is healthy, he hasn't proven he can stay healthy. He had that 4-game audition in 2016 with the Patriots, and he got injured in the second game and opened the door for Jacoby Brissett. So Garoppolo has not been a guy who has proven to be durable, and I think that is a real concern. And if anyone has an incentive to figure out how to stay healthy, it's Carson Wentz, who has yet to get his second contract. Garoppolo has his. He can go out and be reckless. Wentz is trying to earn his, and one way to earn it is to be healthy and available to play. All right, next one. Over-under games started this year for quarterback Josh Rosen, currently with the Cardinals. Who knows who he'll be playing for in 2019. 0.5 is the over-under. What do you got?
I'm going with the over. It probably makes no sense, but what were the teams that we said he was rumored to be possibly linked to? The Giants, the Patriots, and the Chargers, right? All three of those teams have very old actually, I should say, quarterbacks. I think if Josh Rosen comes in, I would roll the dice on, all those guys, Eli Manning, Phillip Rivers, and Tom Brady, obviously the starters. But I'd roll the dice on a possible injury or a possible, let's see what we have here with Josh Rosen. He starts one game. I'm going to go over 0.5 for Josh Rosen.
Yeah, look, if he does get traded to the Chargers, Giants, or Patriots, I think that, oh, God, it depends on which of those three.
No, hold on. Hold on, let me walk you through it. All right, he gets traded to the Chargers. Phil Rivers, pretty old. He might have to see. He might get injured.
But he never does. He never misses.
Okay.
He never does. He plays with a torn ACL.
Hold on. Let me finish. Chargers, going to be good next year. Patriots, going to be good next year. Does a Week 17 start when you already have the bye wrapped up? Does that not count as a start? Because that's what I'd count it for. And if he was on the Giants, I think the Giants, if they traded for him, they would say, we're not going to take Dwayne Haskins, obviously. And Josh Rosen would definitely get in probably mid-season when Eli Manning is like, hey, maybe we should not, keep trotting Eli Manning out and thinking the results are going to be different.
I remember last year after the Ravens drafted Lamar Jackson and the official over-under for him starting a game was 0.5. And I said, bet everything you have on the over. That all it takes is 1 out of 16, and you've just convinced me. All it takes is 1 week out of 16. Whether it's injury, whether it's the team is great, whether it's we just want to see what this guy has. And with Lamar Jackson, it was, maybe he starts the game at quarterback just as part of a gimmick package. But I've said that was the strongest I've ever felt about any potential prop bet in my life. So you've convinced me. I don't feel quite as strongly, but you've convinced me. Josh Rosen over for 0.5 wherever he ends up. All right, more likely to sign a contract extension, Marcus Mariota or Jameis Winston. Both are in their fifth-year options, and neither has signed a new contract yet. Who do you have?
All right, this one's easy for me as well. I think it's Jameis Winston. And I love Mike Vrabel. I think he's going to be a fantastic coach. But when you're talking about Bruce Arians, the QB whisperer, the guy who has a book named about, talking about himself as a QB whisperer, I think that was the biggest reason why Bruce Arians both came back, why the Bucs signed him, or, brought him in. Bruce Arians is there to basically make Jameis Winston an asset again. And I think he's going to be back. It's probably not going to be a long-term deal, but I think Jameis Winston will be good enough this year where the Bucs will kick the can down the road and say, we got to keep trying with this guy. He may still be our franchise quarterback.
Yeah, and with Marcus Mariota, I really do feel like they're rooting for him to be the franchise quarterback in Tennessee. But when the owner comes out and says, I want him to become our franchise quarterback, look, they know what they have, what they don't have. And you've had a change in GM and head coach multiple times since Mariota was drafted. The guy who drafted Jameis Winston is still there in Tampa Bay, so he's got an incentive to sign this guy to another contract. And I think they're going to will it to happen more in Tampa, especially with Bruce Arians, than in Tennessee with whoever the next guy is to be the coordinator for a year before he gets sucked up by another team the way that Matt LaFleur did. So, yeah, I think it's going to be Winston, although there's a chance it's going to be neither. Between the two, I think Winston's got the better opportunity.
I would say neither is probably the smart choice by both teams. I wouldn't sign either of those guys with your money, Mike, even though you don't have much.
And here's the thing. How many years do you give a guy to become a franchise quarterback? I say there's 3 types of teams in the NFL. Teams that have a franchise quarterback, teams that are looking for one, and teams that have a guy and they aren't sure yet whether he's going to be one. What's the shelf life? I mean, Miami gave Tannehill 7 years before they pulled the plug. Is 5 has to be the outer limit. It used to be not that long ago. I mean, how long did the Bears give your guy Cade McNown? He had like 3 weeks to prove he could play. So I think 5 years is a little much, and if you haven't declared yourself a franchise quarterback by now, it ain't going to happen.
Yeah, well, it's scary in the NFL to hit the reset button. Also, credit to you, Mike, for just glossing over that little one-liner I threw at you. That's how obsessed with football you are, so good for you.
No, I've learned that the best way to deal with you is when you try to bait me, just ignore it and just keep going. I've figured it out after however many weeks it's been. I don't know how many weeks it's been, but yeah.
Are you you're an anniversary guy. You're going to buy me a present when we hit the 3 months that we've been doing this together.
I have no idea when it started. I feel like I've been dragging this ball and chain around for so long I forget when it started.
Don't make it awkward. Right. I don't want a card.
Division champion most likely to repeat, your Chicago Bears or the Dallas Cowboys?
I said it in the last segment. I think the Eagles are a lock in the NFC East. And tell me why the Bears wouldn't repeat. Is Aaron Rodgers and Matt LaFleur going to become this dynamite offense? Maybe. I don't know. They added a lot on defense. The Packers would be the team I would say are most likely to challenge the Bears. I don't trust Matt Stafford.
How dare you?
I don't trust Kirk Cousins. So I think it's Bears or Packers. I'll take my chances with the Bears. Now, I am scared about the boogeyman, Aaron Rodgers, on primetime television starting the season because only bad things happen when he goes on primetime against the Bears. But I'd take my chances on the Bears over the Cowboys.
The Vikings have become the ultimate yo-yo playoff, no playoff team. They are due to make it to the playoffs because they didn't last year. They did the year before. They didn't the year before that. That's the way it's rolled under Mike Zimmer since he became the head coach. And with Gary Kubiak there to stabilize the offense and protect Kirk Cousins from himself, to keep Kirk from becoming Kurt Cousins in those. And they're not going to have the same number of primetime games that they can not win like they did last year. They were 2-6 in games of consequence last year. Most of those were in prime time. I think the Vikings are the team the Bears need to worry about the most this year. I really do. Not that means the Vikings are going to topple them, but I think that the Vikings are going to be better. Last year, the expectations were ridiculously high, and I knew they were going to fail. This year, the expectations are very low, and they're going to be better than what people think.
Okay, so let me throw that right back at you, Mike Florio. You just said that it goes back and forth, yo-yos back and forth year to year. The Vikings won't have a lot of primetime games. The expectations are low. Oh, wait, the Cowboys, the NFC East changes every year, yo-yos back and forth every year. They won it last year. They're going to have a lot of primetime games. The expectations are high, so you literally use the reasoning for why the Cowboys shouldn't win the NFC East, for why the Vikings will challenge the Bears, the NFC North. I won that.
Well, no, but see, I was just trying to make myself feel better about the Vikings' chances for this year. I agree with you. The Bears have the better chance to win the division because we've already established that we think the Eagles are going to win the NFC East. So, yeah, I think the Bears have the better chance to win it. So I'm agreeing with you. I'm just trying to make you. I'm trying to make you nervous, not just about Aaron Rodgers. I want you to worry about Captain Kurt Cousins.
No.
And the band of purple people eaters in Minnesota. All right, free agent acquisition most likely to start in the Pro Bowl. Last year, none of the major free agent acquisitions made it to the Pro Bowl, or at least not as starters. Who do you think, of all the free agent signings that have happened over the past couple of weeks, the most likely guy to make it to the Pro Bowl?
Is Antonio Brown officially a free agent under my rules?
Under your rules, he is.
Okay, so Antonio Brown would be number one. I wrote down 4 names: Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown, Landon Collins, Earl Thomas. I'm going to go with Landon Collins in this. That seems like good player, bad team, Pro Bowl.
Yeah, but bad teams have no Pro Bowlers. The really bad teams have none. I like Earl Thomas.
Well, the
I think you're onto
Redskins won't be really bad. They won't be really bad. I'm talking about, like, they'll win 6-7 games, so they're not going to be really, really bad. They'll be middle of the road, and I think Landon Collins will be the Pro Bowler. You
missed the obvious defensive choice, my guy Tyrann Mathieu, joining Kansas City Chiefs, because they're going to be great again. And when a team goes 13-3, 12-4, whatever, they have like 10 Pro Bowlers. All you have to do is be a member of the starting lineup, and you end up in the Pro Bowl if you play for that team. All right, we got to take a quick break. When we return, more on this Josh Rosen situation, where we think he may go, and when I think a trade is likely to happen, if at all. More PFT Live right after this.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.